Hi, everybody. John here at PT. Dan with Sandler Training. How are we, Dan?
Hey, John, doing great. Thanks.
Excellent. What's up with all these questions? How do we ask all these questions? So,
Like that question?
right, like that one. So, no, I'd like to get back to sort of the basics and fundamentals a little bit. We all fall a little bit into that trap of we like doing the exotic or something that seems a little bit more interesting or different just because it's different. And the fundamentals really matter in sales, probably as much as any industry, as far as outcomes and getting the outcomes that you're looking for. So let's talk about the questioning side. We talk about developing pain and getting to the roots of the matter and asking a lot of questions, but walk us back through sort of the approach and the mentality behind, hey, you got to ask a lot of questions and you got to let them talk. You got to be quiet.
Most salespeople listening to this will say, well, I do ask questions. And we think about that. What kind of questions are they asking? And when in the sales process are they really asking those questions? And so usually it's at the very beginning. Who are you using now? Or why are we talking? Or what keeps you up at night? Or any of those generic type questions. But then always what happens is the buyer starts to talk, and then the salesperson feels the need to educate. Well, let me tell you about why we're different or how we do things and blah, blah, blah. If you really want a short and sweet rule of thumb, at the beginning of the sales process, the buyer should be talking roughly 70% of the time, the salesperson 30%. As we get towards the end of the sales process, it flips, because now we're getting into my presentation and how we're going to solve your problem. And at that point, I should be talking 70% if I'm the salesperson, and the buyer talks 30. And so there's two important points here, John. Number one, it's not always just asking questions, question. You got to talk a little bit too. It's not an interrogation. Yep. But number two is you really need to ask better questions and more of them to get the buyer to open up.
Yeah, I think you said a lot in there. One of the really important things to me is any salesperson you talk to would say they ask a lot of questions now. And to your point, I think they ask a lot of questions gathering information. They go in data gathering mode, if you will, or they've got a sheet they need to fill out on somebody, that sort of thing. But it's not the questions that lead you to what's really going on and where the opportunity or dysfunction lies. You're just gathering information. Great, now you got it. Why in the world are they going to want to buy from you just because you now know those data points? And to make it worse, we then attack one of those data points that we feel is the gap. Yes. And they may not see that whatsoever or care, frankly.
So, for example, you ask the question, who are you using now? And they tell you. Most salespeople will start to then say, well, let me share with you how we're different.
Yes.
Where you really need to go is, that's a great company. Why are we even talking? If you're satisfied fully with them, why do you need us? Why are we looking at things? Why do you need a quote or proposal from me? You're already taken care of. And ultimately, can we get down to the emotional reason why they're coming to us? It could be that they're angry about something, or they're frustrated, or they're ticked. And those are, people buy emotionally. And so we have to ask the questions to uncover the emotion. Most salespeople ask questions to uncover the intellectual reason.
Yeah, and then they see where they think is the gap. The salesperson, there's the gap, and let's go at it. And what you described, somebody says they're working with ABC, whatever. It's not just the, hey, let me show you how we differ. You're talking about what I would consider a high-end question that really makes the salesperson uncomfortable. So I think people can work to what you described, but there's that, even gets that middle ground. Okay, tell me about the relationship and start to understand what's happening there, and those kinds of things. But for God's sakes, take it deeper. Stop bailing on the first little piece that you get.
Right.
Yeah. So
have fun with that one.
Go ask some questions, hard questions.
Right. Yeah. Take it.
See you tomorrow.